Hi, fifth grade. Today's math lesson is lesson 1.2, and we are talking about equivalent fractions. First, before we can begin working with equivalent fractions, we must know what they are. So equivalent fractions are two fractions that have the same value even though they may look different. So equivalent fractions are two fractions that may look different than each other, but they have the same value. So let's look at some and see what we're talking about here. We have some circles here. I'm going to shade this first piece of this circle. And I want you to be thinking, what fraction of the circle is shaded? Hopefully, you are thinking 1/2. I shaded one out of the two pieces in that circle, so I have shaded 1/2. On my next circle, you'll see it's divided up differently, but I'm going to shade this piece, and I'm going to shade this piece. Now I want you to think, what fraction of the circle did I shade this time? 2/4. I shaded two pieces out of the four pieces that are in that circle. Hopefully you notice that the amount that I shaded in each of those is the same. These two are equivalent fractions. So even though the numbers in my fractions are different, and there might be more pieces in this one than this one, I have shaded the same amount of the circle. Both of them look the same. Let's try again with this next one. I'm going to shade this piece, and this piece, and this piece. And I'm thinking, what fraction of the circle did I just shade in? 3/6. Hopefully you also notice that this is another equivalent fraction. We're going to put an equal sign there. These three are all the same. Even though they have different numbers and they have some different slices there, these are all the same amount. We have shaded the same. On this last one, I want you to think in your mind, if I wanted to make another equivalent fraction so that this one looked the same as these, how many pieces would I need to shade in on this circle? We would need to shade in 4 pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and work on shading 4 pieces here. What fraction of the circle did I just shade? Hopefully you said 4/8. And also you are noticing that 4/8 would be equivalent to all of these other fractions because we have shaded the same amount. Let's look at it also with some fraction bars here. I'm going to shade this first piece. And that means I have shaded 1/3 of the bar. So I'm going to write 1/3 out here. Now looking at this second bar, if I want to make an equivalent fraction, I want this one to look like the same amount is shaded. How many pieces would I need to shade? 2. So we're going to shade in the first one and then the second one. And when I get that second one shaded in, you're going to notice that looks like the same amount. That is because these two are equivalent. Now, what fraction would this be? 2/6. And one last example. If I want to make this third bar be equivalent to these and look the same, how many pieces would I need to shade in? Hopefully, you said 3. That would be correct. So shading 1, this is the second one, and this is the third one. Now these are all equal. They're all equivalent, the same amount. This fraction would be 3/9. Now, we won't always have pictures to look at when we're doing equivalent fractions. So I'm going to go back up here and I'm going to make a very important note. So I'm going to put a star by it. In order to find equivalent fractions, we have to multiply to find. So if we are being asked to find an equivalent fraction, we have to multiply to be able to find that. So let's look what it looks like to just multiply and not have any pictures. I'm going to write down the fraction 1/2. And I want to create an equivalent fraction that has an 8 as the denominator, or an 8 on the bottom. We know we have to multiply to find an equivalent fraction. So in my mind, I'm thinking 2 times what would get me to 8? I would need to multiply by 4. So 2 times 4 would change it to an 8. If I multiply by 4 on the bottom, I have to do the same thing on the top. So on my top number, I also need to multiply by 4. And then I'm just going to solve. 1 times 4 would be 4. So that means that 1/2 and 4/8 are equivalent. They equal the same amount. Let's try again. I'm going to give you the fraction 3/5. And I would like to create an equivalent fraction that has a 15 as our bottom number. Again, I know I have to multiply to get bigger numbers. So I'm thinking 5 times what would get me over to 15? Hopefully, you are thinking I need to times by 3. 5 times 3 would get me to 15. If I times by 3 on the bottom, I also have to times by 3 on the top. And then I'm going to solve my top row. 3 times 3 would give me 9. That means 3/5 and 9/15 are equivalent. Let's do one more. I'm going to give you 4/6. And this time I'm going to give you the top number. Let's say we want our top number to be 20. Again, for an equivalent fraction, I know that I have to multiply. So I'm thinking 4 times what gets me to 20? That would be 5. If I multiply by 5 on the top, I need to do the same on the bottom. So I'm going to put a times 5 down here. And then I'm going to solve the bottom. 6 times 5 would be 30. That means 4/6 is the same as 20/30. So today we did equivalent fractions. You are ready to start on your assignment. Good luck. Do your best. Bye.